Hello. So good to be with you all. I'm here today to talk about really cool, fun challenge, I would describe it as, which I call the magical manifesting treasure hunt. And this is my spiritual practice around it all, which is many a time we do something that required a lot from us. We achieved a goal, we accomplished more like a process. Maybe a goal can be limiting because you're just looking at the finish line, but I think there's so much magic in experiencing the day to day and your intentions for that. And for me, this challenge, this treasure hunt was that for me. And I want to reflect. Um, One of my coaches calls it a success evaluation. And to me, it's just a way to reflect, to really acknowledge the energy that was present at the time, such that if I wish to recreate parts or all of it, I can come back to this and deepen my understanding of it all even more. Covered in chills as I say that. Um, Perhaps this applies to something in your life that either you're towards the end of almost achieving something, if I term it that way, or you've been working really hard towards a goal intention, but also want to really acknowledge all the steps that got you to that place, or you're just focused on each and every day. I'm also at the same time, I'll give you an example to illustrate what I mean. I am right now in a season where I am paying a lot of attention to my movement and slash exercise, but I like the term movement because it feels lighter in my body, as well as what I'm eating. It's been a very long time since I've done this, but focusing on my protein to carb ratio and paying attention to that. And yes, there is a goal I'm working towards, but really there's a lot of daily practices of how almost compliant I'm being with the intention I've set for each day. And so the same was true for the magical manifesting treasure hunt as well, where I set the intention to send out a daily, like every weekday message to my soul friend mailing list. And in that, share a couple of things. One is a reminder to use the oath of manifestation. You may be familiar with this. I tweaked it a bit to make it more trauma informed and embracing more of our emotional selves and our journey with that. I'll explain more about what the magical manifesting treasure hunt was as well, but really just trying to articulate at the start. I'm here to reflect. I'm here to evaluate it maybe to some extent and take you through the day-to-day journey that it was for me. And so back to what I was sharing, one, my intention was to share a few things. The oath of manifestation. So everyone who was on my soul friend mailing list could read that out loud with a manifestation intention in mind. Two, they could record any treasure hunted evidence that they found. And so to me, the genesis of where that came from was many times I have tried to manifest something and almost missed seeing the signals of it in my life. And to me, that was a clear sign that, our brains are very wired to see the negative of things going wrong because it's trying to keep us safe and protect us. And those of us who are sensitive, who have experienced some kind of trauma in our life, which a lot of us have, even if not in our um, present day life, our ancestors have carried over certain tendencies to us. Our past lives have brought in certain tendencies to energetically to us as well. So we all carry some forms of protective mechanisms, I'd like to call it. And I find treasure hunting is the healing practice to rewire it. Like, oh, look at that. Like that thing happened today, or this person showed up in my life. And I'm covered in chills as I say that again. maybe you're noticing that in your life too as you're working towards intention you're manifesting. So consider this also a bit of a mini class, master class of sorts on manifestation too, as I reflect on this journey for myself, because it very much was to serve me as much as it was to serve my community. The third thing I was sharing every weekday was a soul play practice. So it started out with a grounding practice because I remember, and here's the thing, like some backstory for you all. I tried to run this manifesting treasure hunt a year ago. I started out with so much like, ooh, it's here. I'm noticing I'm not using my hands enough because I'm trying to stabilize my microphone down below. Again, new setup that I'm working with. So hopefully this is not too jarring if I move around and I don't like destabilize my setup here. I'm on my bed with my laptop, with my camera and microphone all plugged in with lots of wires. So okay, I'm a little stiff as I'm trying to make sure I stay within frame and talk. Now that I've presenced that, um, back to the backstory. A year ago, I had this download around the manifesting treasure hunt. I spoke about it. I was working very closely with the dear coach at the time, and she gave me a lot of like inspiration and encouragement to trust myself and do it. And so I did it. I had this really fun reel that I used to launch it that just made me so happy creating it. And so many people loved it. People came into my world. They were like, yes, let's do it. And I think I ran it for about a few days. And that time I did it a little differently, where I was going to post each activity or soul play practice as a reel. And then a few days later, it's like the energy like went zoop and it was like cut off. And I was redirected to inviting people to do like mini Akashic human design readings. And I trusted that. I'm all for trusting the shifts in energy where our intuition takes us. But also, this was a big deal where I'd set an intention to do something for, I think at the time I said 30 days and I didn't do it. And a part of me really like, it was like this regret I was sitting with. And I did my inner work to release that and be with that, all the things that we do as spiritual people, healers, and empaths who've learned to regulate and work with all the energy that we can channel. So I had to make my peace with that, and I did. But this was like a point of I could redeem myself. I could come back to this. Maybe this is the timing right now. And I knew I had more um flexibility in my coming month, that I had faith that I could do it. The last time I was really in a busy season of life and wasn't sure and had to really prioritize, but here I committed. And I think that was a big thing I did is I committed to the practice. This time even without a coach in my corner, like I was my own coach, if you will, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to move my microphone so my body language can soften." Um, yeah, so I think that was one, was commitment. And I committed to sending these emails. I said 21 days, which somehow felt better. Here are a few other things that helped inspire me. I happened to sign up for a really low cost email series challenge, which was all about like breaking your phone addiction. And I just found this reel that really spoke to me and who I was. Like, mom who's like trying to make it through the day. And so you're just scrolling through your phone, like the doom scroll, especially when you're like at bedtime and your kid is almost asleep and you're just trying to like feel some freedom. Like I've definitely been there many times. And I was really feeling this call to like, I want to not be so dopamine attached to my phone, even though that's what it is, does provide serotonin, dopamine, all the neurotransmitters that make us feel good. And so what did I do? I signed up for that challenge and it was a 21-day challenge and it was very bite-sized. I really loved it. Like there was a practice that would come through and I could do it in my day and I felt good about achieving that little thing. Like it just gave me enough trust that I could do more. Um, and it felt very accessible and doable. So there was that. That was great encouragement for me. Um, I'm trying. Oh, I was definitely well, I say I didn't have a coach. I was in a business program at the time where there was a lot of like activity and energy around being in our business and thinking about our business. So perhaps that fed in some into this world in some kind of way. I have to really, nothing comes to mind clearly as a direct correlation, but I do believe in like shared energy affecting us, and me being in that container, I think was helpful. But it did, it wasn't great in that I couldn't do as much homework for the course I was in because I was directing energy towards this intention. And I trust, like, that makes sense to me. I just feel a yes in my body, like that decision was good for me. So, yay for doing that. Mm, what else supported me, I think, or inspired me at the time? I had a chat with my guides. I do this thing where I open up the Akashic Records, call in my spirit guides, what I call my higher power. You may have a different name, universe, God, some other name. Maybe it's a part of yourself, your higher self you trust. And when I talked to them about this idea that was floating in, they told me, yeah, just needs to be super short, like 5-line emails. And I was like, oh, 5-line emails. I can do that. That's easy. So that's what I told myself. And I was like, all right, we can do that. Let's do the 5-line emails. And I started. And I remember my first email was so long. And I was like, this is not a 5-line email, but it was fun and it flowed. And I said, you know what? Okay, let's keep going. And I had to caveat because I think I posted about it online once, only once, and I had two people sign up from there. Um, and the rest was mostly my existing mailing list. And I gave them like an intro day zero, like here's what the intention of this is. I was able to repurpose content from the last time a year ago that I ran this. Like I merged a bunch of Instagram posts into an email. Another thing that was happening at this time is I was not feeling the call to be on Instagram, and that's still present today as I'm recording this. Like, I have deleted the app from my phone, which is big as of the last few weeks. It just hasn't been energy I felt called to. Um, yeah, again, it leads to the doom scrolling and more. I do have TikTok, which I open every other day and scroll a little bit, but it's not the same as Instagram, where I have a lot more curated content. The algorithm knows me better, I think. And so here was the other thing that also I think inspired me. I listed out a few from being in the possibly from being in the shared like business program and some energy from there, perhaps to doing the phone addiction like email challenge and seeing how good that experience was for me, to having done this before and having a starting point as well. Before running this, I had done 30 days, well, really 20-ish, 20, let me think about it. Yeah, 20-ish days of it. I think I counted and I had 25 videos, but probably spread across a fewer number of days of TikTok 10-minute channeling videos that I had done as part of a series. I just like, here's an Akashic message for the collective. And I opened up the records and I would channel. And it created so much trust in me. Like I would just show up 10 minutes, record, maybe it took me 15 minutes to record because I would pause and record and pause and record. So I could fit all the content to within the 10 minutes I had. That's the limit for recording a TikTok video. And I'd post it. And I kind of stayed in a, 200-ish view range, which I hear is not like the algorithm has figured out and like, is pushing your content. extensively out, but I would get replies from people, new people pretty much every day who really appreciated my content. And I received that. I was so grateful for that. Like that also built trust. There were all these pre-steps I did that led to the energy of this manifesting treasure hunt, like made it all come together. And I heard 21 days from my guides, so that also was again easier than 30 days, even though I think net's the same. It was, if you think about 5 business days or 5 weekdays, and if you spread that across a month, like 30 days of a month contain roughly around 20, 21, something in that range business days. So somehow that was just more helpful framing for my brain to just get on board with it all. And from there, I started to build a momentum. I think commitment, inspiration, and then momentum, meaning every day I would just show up. I would have some time allocated on my calendar to do the writing work. And I would write and I would get ideas from writing and I would channel as I'm writing. And it just led to like all this coolness that became the treasure hunt. Like there would be practices that I knew, and I knew a set of practices that I'd already listed and channeled from the previous year. Again, pre-work helps. Having a starting point helps. Um, build momentum. I do think the principle here is momentum and feeling that energy flow build. So um, again, first few days, emails were long. I remember getting this idea of like, oh, I want to be able to track what I'm doing. And I think others could benefit from that too, because here's another bit of inspiration that was in my world. I had been doing virtual reality workouts and been pretty consistent with doing them, adjusting my phone, every like few days a week, anywhere from 4 times a week to 3 times a week at that point. And I was like, this is great. Like I'm also able to do that consistently. And consistency is not a thing that I'm used to. I have ADHD tendencies for sure. And either I'll hyperfixate and just do one thing, ignoring the rest, or do a bunch of different things. And when they seem all shiny to me, and then like discard them when they're not. So to be this committed, to source from all the inspiration I had of like being in this like continuous wave of energy and having momentum, it was cool. Um, but I bring up the example of the VR workout because it has the streak tracker. Every time you complete a workout, it puts this nice check mark in the app. And when you open up the app on your phone, or even when you wear the glasses to immerse yourself in the virtual reality world, once you complete your workout, the check mark appears. And when you have enough check marks in the week, it like does this cool animation, and all of them like link up into a streak or a line that connects all the check marks. It's really fun. And it sparkles. And like then one of the virtual, like the trainers who are in the virtual reality app will like celebrate you and say like great job, and keep coming back for more. And so I felt inspired, and I felt like this led to me channeling more inspiration through me from the place of momentum. Like I was in a virtuous cycle of being inspired, and having committed to the practice meant that I was showing up and I was building momentum because I was feeding in space to receive more inspiration. So I remember, a Google tracker, um pretty much like at night after bedtime for my daughter, and I was like, I'm just going to do this. And I got it done and I sent it out the next day. I think it was a Saturday, and I had a break while taking my daughter to a class, and I sent it and it was awesome. I'm um like just getting that out there, and like me also using it was such a like win for me. Now I will reflect on the fact that I still found the interface a little clunky. Like to me, I wish it were a little more automated. You open up and scroll through the email, like just like my app, like it auto checks for you. And I also, to be honest, didn't end up using the tracker towards the end. I thought I could update it as I went, but then I realized like the tracker doesn't do a good job recording if you keep tweaking the elements of the form. I used a Google form. Um, but I did have at least one other person use it, and I had a couple of people respond to my email when announced it, being very excited for it and just feeling like, yeah, this is the thing I needed. And thank you for doing this, which was so encouraging for me because I will say it was a little, the one thing that was hard in this is like not seeing people. Like when you get on a Zoom call and you're sharing and you're channeling, and like you can receive messages in the chat or see people's body language and like, oh, they're receiving it. This is good. Um, while I like to prioritize my experience, like me receiving it is the most helpful because it's from my energy flow that everyone else gets to mirror and amplify theirs. Um, I it wasn't easy. Sometimes there was a week when no one was replying, and I'm just like showing up and trying to do it. And I remember there were times where it felt hard on certain days, like I was really fitting it in, or I would send out. I remember there was 1 or 2 days where I sent out the email like at night. There was one day where I chose to skip the email. It was some kind of holiday here. And I was like, do I still send it? And I said to myself, no. And it just meant that the last day of, I did commit to a final date. And I think setting that ending boundary is huge for me because I have a tendency to just keep going. um, like when I'm having fun, like who wants to stop? But also stopping is really good because it's not just this one hyperfixation thing that I want to focus on. Anyway, as I say all this, I'm realizing I need a sip of water. So I'm going to pause you all and come back. Right, I'm back. Um, a lot of talking meant that my throat was drying up. And also cool thing happened. I paused, I started drinking my water and I looked at the clock and I realized, oh, it's 11:11 my time. And on my phone, and I just kept staring at those numbers everywhere and thanking my guides. And also PSA, like channeling makes you thirsty. If you don't hydrate as well, I recommend finding a meditation, visualized meditation slash channeling practice. You will learn to hydrate. I'm just feeling that right now. Chills down my right side as I say that. Okay. So I was reflecting on some of the harder moments or things that didn't work as well. One was the um like the Google Form tracker. I knew it wouldn't be perfect even when I did it. I hope if I run this challenge again or I make it something that you can just sign up for on my website, that there's some better tracking system or mechanism I can figure out. So let's see how that goes. And then now that I have all the content built, I could definitely let's like repurpose it with a lot less effort, which is exciting. Ideas for the future for me are maybe I could do it more video based as well. Like it did lead because I had this soul play practice that I explained each time with some background and story, and then like here's the 7 steps to take. It led to a longer email. And I wonder if having a video recording would be more impactful. So is this something I might consider for the next time round if I feel called to run this? Um, I also found it interesting that I ran this in the month of May, which has always tended to be a busier time for me, and I somehow made it busy again. It just seems to be a time that feels intense energetically for me. And I need to check if that's I think it's my 12th house time as I'm saying that aloud. Um it's lovely in a way, like all the energy of working with our subconscious, my healer energy, my Chiron's there. Um, yeah, we start to go from Taurus to Gemini, I think, if I'm remembering my astrology right. So I think there's a reason. Maybe this is a seasonal thing that I do every time of this year. Another thing to contemplate with my guides. And also, if you're watching this and you did do the magical manifesting treasure hunt with me, thank you for being in the vortex that it was. I actually remember seeing the energy of all of us together as this like massive, like electric spinning ball of light that's like wielding energy, like just like lassos of energy, electricity, if you can imagine that, like arcs of electricity going all around. It felt very cool and powerful. So thank you for being there and for your shared energy. And if you have other ideas or feedback, I'm all ears. I plan to send out a feedback form actually for this. So I just had that thought right now. Um, so I'll make a note of that. And I'm thinking, were there other? I think I want to just celebrate myself for committing to it and doing it and making it happen. I do remember by the last day, I was like, all right, it's time. And it was not feeling like this. It was like, it's time to complete it and conclude. I do remember it was, I think I was struggling towards the end of a round. Um, Practices to include or not, and trusting my intuition. So I'll share what I was like, oh, struggling with. I'll share what surprised me. I'll share like surprised me in terms of, oh, I included this practice, and oh, this surprised me because I didn't include this practice. And I remember towards the end, like, okay, how do we close this? There's still practices I thought I'd share, and it hasn't been a yes in my body to share. And I love that it concluded on this, like, here are accessible things. Like, the biggest message I had towards the end is how can you include play and pleasure into your day to day? Because that's really what's going to bring your manifestation energy closer to you. More often than not, it's going to have some threads, energetic threads of play and pleasure. So that was my invitation to everyone. And I have lots of chills as I say that. What surprised me about not including, I didn't have a gratitude practice in there. I'm like, but as I say that, there was a lot of practices based on love, and like that's what gratitude is. It's like you send love to the things you have in your day to day. And there were practices that definitely helped you ground and be with your current energy. So maybe that was there in some way, but it wasn't an explicit gratitude practice, and that was a big surprise. The other thing that was surprised me, I think, the most amongst the practices, like some of them, I remember the first time I channeled it, and the guys were like, you need to do grounding. You need to create a stable container to receive. That's like the message. And it was simple and profound all at once and made sense logically. So I was on board with that. Even though it wasn't as well logical first step I had, I think I was going to start with, here's your intention, and then like let's be grateful for having the intention. That would have been my more logical way to go about it. Surprising practice that came through was working with collective energy. I thought it was really, really fun. It's like the theme and the concept is that we're not manifesting in a vacuum. We're manifesting in addition to other manifestations we're calling in alongside people in our home, in our lives, and at work, in our neighborhood, our community, as well as like the collective. The collective, like the world is moving through stuff, some really painful, like broken stuff right now that breaks my heart and almost too much to connect to at times for me. And so I'm just setting some boundaries as I feel into that, just for myself to feel grounded while I talk through it all. But at the same time, like we can work with that energy as a collective, and we can set the intention that our manifestation will serve the collective's benefit. There's a lot, and I don't recall even top of mind. If you want to learn more, I invite you to message me, comment below wherever you're receiving this to receive the manifesting treasure hunt. It's all available. I had this huge, this is another thing that worked well, is I made a huge page on my website that's private that contains the entire treasure hunt. Like I hyperlinked it all the content in one place. You can like control F search for what you need in there. Maybe there's a certain practice that speaks to you. First, you can like play with it. It doesn't have to be in order. So Those were all my reflections on it all. Maybe not the most structured or sequenced reflections, but I did want to share. And also, this is my closing practice for that container in many ways. Yes, I'll ask for feedback, but this is me saying thank you to the guides that brought this challenge, this treasure hunt through, thanking myself. I will say this, and not in a place of like, does this challenge have results? And yes, I had an intention, monetary intention. Like I said, I'd receive $1,000 in my business by that date. I did not. And I actually didn't have any portals open to receive through. Like I had my readings were on a wait list, and I was actually very busy with this and other things that I was doing in my life. And that actually felt right. Like this almost felt like the energetic foundation work I wanted to do to receive at a later point. Time is tricky in manifesting. I don't like being super restrictive and forceful around it because sometimes things take time, or giving yourself and your guides, the universe, the gift of time to get you something even better than you envisioned is a practice. Sometimes forcing things to happen in a very short time frame can be a trauma response. But sometimes deciding that you want something can activate this law of expectation that, all right, I expect this to happen and it will happen. So there's a lot of paradoxical things at play at work here that it's hard to be super precise. To me, I think if you enjoy this journey and the process, which is certainly what the magical manifesting treasure hunt is all about, it's also all about rewiring how you look at the world and look at how things are coming to you. You'll see more, you'll see better, and you'll trust yourself more, and you'll trust the universe even more. That has been my intention with it all. And so, to me, I am going to receive that money, just not by the date that I'd set, and maybe not in the ways that I imagined, but I'm very open to the possibility. And this practice, this treasure hunt has made me trust that even more. Even yesterday, I was trying hard to send out the portals for me to receive. I've been trying to send out booking links. This is a bit of a story. But yeah, it's an experience that I've been going through where I have been trying to change booking platforms for the last few weeks, and I had decided on testing out a platform that I was not completely sold on. I tested it out, ran into some big glitches. I'm like, ooh, I'm not gonna go with this. Do a bunch of research, use AI to help me too. Both channels came to the same conclusion. I'm like, try platform two. Okay, this is looking very promising. All right, and then the work started to balloon. It's like, oh, but if I have to use this in this way, I have to create this kind of custom template and contract and more. And I kept doing that. And then I think it was signal actually to pause and like really rethink my whole strategy, but I kept doing it. And then I ran into a glitch unexpectedly. And then I ran into a limit in the platform. And I was like, it was hard because I had to let go of planning and intention and more. And like, this timeline's not going to happen to send. So what did I do? I just sent an email. I would call it a teaser email. Like, I have this coming, and here's something to serve you, this message, this poem. That's what I did. And I'd meant to send it anyway at some point. It flowed this way because that's what my guide said, and I did it. And here's the story part. Like, I had multiple people reply to me, and oh, I have so many chills as I say this. I had multiple people reply to me about how touched they were by the poem that I sent. And I think it made them feel really seen as to where they were, because I wrote it from a place of seeing myself where I was, like longing for this business to bring in more money and be this container for myself and my clients, and my clients serving me just as much as I'm serving them. All the chills and all the love. And so I shared that because um, I'm still working on this portal to receive money. And today, actually, I intentionally said, you know what, I'm not going to work on it. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to integrate and I'm going to channel and I'm going to do all the things. And that's me in the space integrating. I'm going to chat with my guides in the Akashic records after this too. Um, and perhaps this is a permission slip to you as well to not push and try to make something happen, but to sit back and find practices to help you receive, even if that's a massage, if that's a meditation, if that's a lovely song that you get to listen to on your next drive or walk outside, whatever it might be. I invite you to lean into that practice for you. Listen to the call if you are getting frustrated by trying to make something happen. See if you pull back. How does the energy shift? Maybe something more is happening for you energetically than you can perceive through your senses, at least your 3D senses. Huh. With that, I feel complete. I'm just taking a moment to thank you all. Thank my guides. You're very much invited to play with the treasure hunt. Just let me know if you're interested, and I'll figure out if I can drop a link to sign up or send something to you all. And I hope you received something through this process of reflection. Maybe it made you reflect on something for yourself. Acknowledge something that you've been working towards. Maybe spark an idea or two about how you can manifest differently. How can you ease up on achieving your manifestation and maybe lean into or lean back and receive your manifestation in different ways? Trust that you have the answers. You're so wise. We are all so connected to so much inner wisdom through our souls, and I hope that this helped you connect even more to yours. Much love and lots of gratitude. Thank you.